Most people have it completely backwards. They think discipline is some kind of prison, a set of chains that holds them down and keeps them from doing what they want. They see it as restriction, as limitation, as something that takes away their choices, and so they run from it, they avoid it. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, next Monday, next month, next year. Meanwhile, their life falls apart in slow motion, one missed opportunity at a time, one broken promise to themselves at a time, one "I'll do it later" at a time. Here's the truth that took me years to understand. Discipline doesn't take away freedom. Discipline creates the space where freedom can actually exist. Think about it for a moment. The person who never learned financial discipline, who spent every dollar they made and then some, where's their freedom? They're chained to a job they hate because they can't afford to leave. They're up at night worried about bills. They can't help their kids when they need it. They can't retire when their body starts breaking down. They're trapped. The undisciplined person isn't free at all. They're a slave to their circumstances, their impulses, their creditors, their boss, their own poor choices compounding year after year. I learned this the hard way. When I was 25 years old, I was broke. Not just a little short on cash, but genuinely broke. I had pennies in my pocket and more month than money, as they say. And I thought I was free because I didn't have anybody telling me what to do. I could sleep late if I wanted. I could skip work if I felt like it. I could spend what little money I had on whatever caught my eye. That's freedom, right? Wrong. I was the least free person I knew. I was controlled by every circumstance, every unexpected expense, every mood swing, every temporary desire. The turning point came when I met my mentor, and he asked me a question that changed everything. He said, "Jim, who's running your life?" I told him I was. He just smiled and said, "Really? Because from where I'm sitting, your empty bank account is running your life. Your lack of skills is running your life. Your habits are running your life. And those habits are running you straight into the ground." He was right. Of course, I wasn't running anything. I was being run. That's when I started to understand what discipline really means. It's not about becoming some rigid, joyless person who never has any fun. It's about taking control. It's about deciding what kind of life you want to build and then making the daily choices to build it every single day, whether you feel like it or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether anybody's watching or not. See, here's what happens when you don't have discipline. You become a leaf in the wind. You go wherever life blows you. You react instead of act. You respond to whatever comes up instead of creating what you want. You eat whatever's in front of you instead of choosing what serves your health. You spend whatever's in your pocket instead of building wealth. You do whatever's easiest instead of what's most important. And then 10 years later, 20 years later, you wake up and wonder where your life went. You wonder why you're stuck. You wonder why other people have the things you want. The answer is simple. Even if it's hard to hear, they built a foundation and you didn't. Discipline is that foundation. It's the ground floor of every good life. It's the concrete and steel that holds everything else up. Without it, nothing stands. Your dreams collapse. Your goals crumble. Your good intentions blow away like dust. But with it, with real discipline practiced over time, you can build anything. You can build wealth. You can build health. You can build relationships. You can build a business. You can build a reputation. You can build a life that actually means something. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of discipline where you beat yourself up for every mistake. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about the steady practice of doing what you said you'd do, even on the days when you don't feel like doing it. I'm talking about keeping your promises to yourself. I'm talking about showing up. I'm talking about following through. Day after day after day. That's all discipline is. It's showing up for your own life. And here's what makes this so powerful. Every time you practice discipline, you're making a deposit in your own bank account of self-respect. You're proving to yourself that you can be counted on. You're building trust with the most important person in your life, which is you. Think about what happens when someone constantly breaks their promises to you. You stop trusting them, right? You stop believing what they say. You stop relying on them. Well, what do you think happens when you constantly break promises to yourself? When you say you'll start eating better and you don't? When you say you'll save money and you don't? When you say you'll exercise and you don't? You stop trusting yourself. You stop believing in your own word. And that's a devastating place to be. The disciplined person, on the other hand, builds a different relationship with themselves. They know that when they commit to something, they'll follow through. They know they can count on themselves. They know that their word means something, especially the word they give to themselves. And that knowledge, that self-trust, that's one of the most powerful forces in human life. It's what allows you to attempt difficult things. It's what allows you to set big goals and actually believe you might achieve them. It's what allows you to look at your life and think, I can change this. But it all starts with the smallest thing. It starts with making your bed in the morning. It starts with doing the dishes before you go to bed. It starts with reading 10 pages of a good book every day. It starts with putting 10% of your paycheck aside before you spend a dime. These tiny acts of discipline seem insignificant in the moment. What difference does a made bed make? What difference does 10 pages make? What difference does $10 make? In the moment, very little. But compound those small disciplines over months and years, and they make all the difference in the world. This is what most people miss. They're looking for the big breakthrough, the lottery ticket, the lucky break. They don't understand that success is built in small increments, through disciplines practiced daily when nobody's watching and nobody cares. The disciplined person doesn't wait for motivation. They don't wait until they feel like it. They don't negotiate with themselves every morning about whether today's the day they'll follow through. They just do what needs to be done. They established a pattern. They built the habit, and the habit carries them forward even when willpower runs thin. Freedom, real freedom, is on the other side of this process. It's waiting for you. But you can't get there by wishing. You can't get there by reading about it. You can't get there by talking about what you're going to do someday. You get there by practicing discipline today, right now, in this moment. You get there by building the foundation, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And once that foundation is solid, once it's been tested and proven, then you can build the life you actually want to live. Then you can have the freedom everyone's looking for. But not before. First comes the discipline, then comes everything else. So what does discipline actually look like when you're living it? Because that's where most people get lost. They hear the word and they think it's complicated. They think it requires some superhuman effort. They think you need to be built differently. None of that's true. Discipline is simple. It's just not easy. Let me break this down for you. Discipline in the morning looks like getting up when the alarm goes off, not hitting snooze 3 times, not negotiating with yourself about 5 more minutes. The alarm sounds, your feet hit the floor. That's it. Simple, right? But watch what happens when you do this consistently. You start your day with a win. You prove to yourself in the first 60 seconds that you can do what you said you'd do. That sets a tone. That creates momentum. Now contrast that with the person who hits snooze, who argues with themselves, who starts every day losing the first battle with their own weakness. They're behind before breakfast. They're defeated before they even get started. Then comes what you put in your body. Discipline at breakfast means eating food that serves your health, not just whatever's quick or tastes good in the moment. It means protein and fuel, not sugar and regret. It means thinking about how you'll feel at 2 in the afternoon, not just how you feel right now. And again, one breakfast doesn't matter much. But 365 breakfasts, year after year, that's the difference between the person who has energy and vitality at 50 and the person who's on 6 medications and can't climb a flight of stairs. The same principle applies to your work. Discipline in your work means doing the most important thing first, not the easiest thing. It means making the call you're afraid to make. It means having the conversation you've been avoiding. It means working on the project that'll actually move your business forward, not just shuffling papers and checking email so you can feel busy without actually being productive. I see this all the time. People stay busy all day and accomplish nothing of value. They confuse activity with achievement. The disciplined person knows the difference. They do what matters even when what matters is hard, even when what matters is uncomfortable, even when what matters doesn't give them immediate gratification. Money is where discipline shows up most clearly, and it's where the lack of discipline causes the most damage. Financial discipline is brutally simple. Spend less than you earn and invest the difference. That's it. That's the whole game. But simple doesn't mean easy. Financial discipline means driving a car you can afford, not the car that impresses people. It means living in a house that fits your budget, not maxing out what the bank will lend you. It means saying no to things you want right now so you can say yes to the life you want later. I remember when I first started making decent money, my first instinct was to spend it. I wanted the nice car. I wanted the fancy restaurant meals. I wanted to show everyone I'd made it. Thank goodness my mentor grabbed me by the collar, metaphorically speaking, and said, "Jim, wealth isn't what you spend. Wealth is what you keep. Wealth is what you invest. Wealth is what works for you while you sleep." So I learned to pay myself first. Before the rent, before the car payment, before anything else, I took 10% right off the top and put it away. Some months that was hard, some months it felt impossible, but I did it anyway. And that discipline, practiced over years, changed everything. The undisciplined person does it backwards. They spend first and save whatever's left over. And guess what's left over at the end of the month? Nothing. There's always something else to buy. There's always another expense. There's always a reason why this month isn't a good month to start, so they never start. Or they start and stop, never building any real momentum. Meanwhile, their disciplined neighbor is quietly, consistently putting money away. Not doing anything fancy, not taking big risks, just showing up month after month, year after year. And 20 years later, one person has options and the other person has regrets. Here's something crucial to understand. There are two types of pain in life. There's the pain of discipline, and there's the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. The pain of getting up early, of eating right, of saving money, of doing the work even when you don't feel like it, that pain is temporary and it's light. It's uncomfortable in the moment, sure, but it passes, and it leaves something good behind. The pain of regret, though, that's a different animal entirely. That's waking up at 60 years old and realizing you wasted your life. That's looking at your bank statement and knowing you'll never be able to retire. That's seeing your health deteriorate and knowing you did it to yourself. That's watching opportunities go to other people and knowing you could have been ready, you could have been qualified, you could have been in position, if only you'd done the work when you had the chance. The choice between these two pains is something you make every single day. Not once, not when you feel motivated, every day. When you hit the alarm in the morning, you're choosing. When you're deciding what to eat for lunch, you're choosing. When you're looking at your paycheck and deciding what to do with it, you're choosing. When you're sitting on the couch and you could either watch another hour of television or read something that improves your mind, you're choosing. Nobody's forcing you either way. You get to decide. But you don't get to avoid the consequences of your decisions. This is what discipline really builds. It builds a structure in your life where good things can happen. It creates the conditions for success. Think of it like farming. A farmer doesn't grow crops. A farmer creates the conditions where crops can grow. He prepares the soil. He plants the seeds. He waters them. He pulls the weeds. He protects the young plants. He does all these things consistently, whether he feels like it or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether he sees immediate results or not. And if he does these things, if he maintains the discipline of farming, then nature takes care of the rest. The crops grow. The harvest comes. But if he skips steps, if he plants and then forgets to water, if he lets the weeds take over, if he only works when he feels inspired, then nothing grows. He gets nothing. Your life works the same way. Discipline creates the conditions. Discipline prepares the ground. Discipline plants the seeds. And then, if you maintain it, if you keep showing up, if you keep doing what needs to be done, good things start to happen. Not overnight, not next week, but they happen. They compound. They build on each other. One day you wake up and you're healthy. One day you wake up and you have money in the bank. One day you wake up and you have skills that people will pay for. One day you wake up and you have a life that works. But none of that happens by accident. None of that happens by luck. None of that happens because you wished for it or thought positive thoughts about it. It happens because you did the boring, unglamorous, unsexy work of discipline, day after day, when nobody was watching and nobody was applauding. And here's the beautiful part. Discipline gets easier. Not because the actions get easier, but because you get stronger. You build capacity. You build character. The first time you say no to dessert when you're trying to lose weight, it's hard. It feels like deprivation. But the 50th time, the 100th time, it's just what you do. It's who you are. The first time you put money away instead of spending it, it feels like sacrifice. But after you've done it consistently and you start seeing the balance grow, it feels like investing in yourself. It feels like building something. It feels like progress. This is the momentum of discipline. Once you get it rolling, it tends to keep rolling. The hard part is starting. The hard part is those first few weeks, those first few months, when you're fighting against all your old patterns and nothing seems to be changing. But if you push through that, if you keep going when it's hard, something shifts. The discipline that felt like work starts to feel like identity. You stop being someone who's trying to be disciplined and you become someone who is disciplined. And that shift, that transformation from effort to identity, that's when everything changes. That's when discipline stops being something you have to force and becomes something that carries you forward. That's when you start building real momentum. That's when the life you want starts becoming the life you have. Now we need to talk about what discipline does to you on the inside, because that's where the real transformation happens. Discipline isn't just about getting things done. It's about who you become in the process of getting things done. It's about the person you build while you're building your life. Every time you practice discipline, every time you do the thing you said you'd do, even though you don't feel like doing it, something happens inside you. You get stronger. Not physically stronger, though that might happen too. You get stronger in character. You develop something I call personal power, and it's one of the most valuable assets you can ever build. Personal power is the ability to direct yourself. It's the ability to make yourself do what needs to be done. It's the ability to keep going when things get hard. And you can't buy it, you can't inherit it, you can't get it as a gift. You can only build it through practice. Self-respect comes from this same place. You know what kills self-respect faster than anything? Breaking promises to yourself. Telling yourself you'll do something and then not doing it. Saying tomorrow and then tomorrow never comes. Looking in the mirror and knowing you're not showing up for your own life. That eats away at you. It destroys you from the inside out. You might fool other people about who you are, but you can never fool yourself. You know the truth. You know whether you're keeping your word or breaking it. The disciplined person builds a different relationship with that face in the mirror. They look at themselves and they know something powerful. I can count on me. I do what I say I'll do. When I make a commitment to myself, I follow through. And that knowledge, that deep certainty that you're someone who keeps their word, that changes everything about how you move through the world. It gives you confidence that isn't fake. It gives you strength that isn't borrowed. It gives you a foundation that can't be shaken. Think about the people you truly respect in your life. Not the people you're impressed by or envious of, but the people you genuinely respect. I'll bet there are people who do what they say they'll do. People whose word means something. People who show up. People who follow through. People who don't make excuses. That's not an accident. That's discipline made visible. That's character built through consistent action over time. And here's the thing. You can become that person. You can be someone that others respect, including yourself, by practicing the same disciplines they practice. But discipline really shows its value when life gets hard. When everything's going well, when you're motivated and excited and things are working out, anybody can stay on track. The real test comes when you get knocked down, when the business fails, when the relationship ends, when the medical diagnosis comes, when the economy crashes, when life punches you in the mouth, which it will. That's when you find out what you're made of. The disciplined person has an advantage in these moments. They've already proven to themselves that they can do hard things. They've already built the mental and emotional muscle that gets you through difficult times. They've learned that feelings aren't facts. They've learned that you can feel terrible and still do what needs to be done, They've learned that consistency matters more than intensity. They've learned that you keep moving forward even when you can't see the path clearly. These aren't things you can learn from a book. These are things you learn by living them. I've been through some valleys in my life. Times when everything seemed to fall apart at once. Times when it would have been easy to quit, to give up, to say it's not worth it anymore. What got me through wasn't some magical positive thinking. What got me through was the discipline I'd built during the good times. The discipline of getting up every morning. The discipline of doing the next right thing. The discipline of putting one foot in front of the other, even when I didn't know where I was going. That discipline became my anchor. It became the thing I could hold on to when everything else was uncertain. Your philosophy matters here too. The disciplined person understands that life isn't fair, that bad things happen to good people, that you don't always get what you deserve. But they also understand that they're responsible for their response, not for what happens to them, but for what they do about what happens to them. That's the philosophy that makes discipline possible even in hard times. That's the philosophy that says, I'm going to show up today. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to control what I can control. And I'm going to trust that consistent effort over time will eventually turn things around. The undisciplined person, when life gets hard, falls apart. They don't have that foundation to stand on. They don't have that track record of keeping commitments to themselves. They don't have that internal strength that comes from years of doing difficult things. So they collapse. They quit. They blame. They make excuses. They wait for someone to rescue them. And while they're waiting, while they're collapsed, while they're making excuses, their life continues to deteriorate. The problems get worse. The hole gets deeper. And getting out becomes harder and harder. But the disciplined person, they're different. They've built something that can't be taken away. They've built it inside themselves through thousands of small acts of following through. And that internal structure, that character, that strength, it becomes the most valuable thing they own. It's what allows them to rebuild when everything falls apart. It's what allows them to try again when they fail. It's what allows them to keep going when everyone else has quit. And eventually, if they keep applying discipline, if they keep showing up, if they keep doing what needs to be done, they don't just survive the hard times, they come out stronger. They come out better. They come out with even more confidence in themselves and their ability to handle whatever life throws at them. So let's talk about what waits for you on the other side. Let's talk about what happens when you've practiced discipline consistently for years, when you've built that foundation brick by brick, when you've kept showing up day after day. Let's talk about the freedom that everyone wants, but so few people actually achieve. Financial freedom is the most obvious one. The person who spent 20 years saving 10% of their income, who invested it wisely, who live below their means while building wealth quietly in the background, that person wakes up one day and realizes something extraordinary. They don't have to work anymore. Not because they won the lottery, not because they got lucky, but because they practiced financial discipline for 2 decades while everyone around them was spending every dollar they made. Now they have choices. They can work because they want to, not because they have to. They can say no to the job that's killing their soul. They can say yes to opportunities that don't pay much but matter to them. They can help their kids. They can travel. They can invest in their health. They can do what they want with their time because money is no longer dictating every decision. That's what financial discipline buys you. Not stuff, not a bigger house or a fancier car. It buys you options. It buys you freedom. It buys you the ability to live life on your terms instead of someone else's terms. And the beautiful irony is that the person who has this freedom, who has this wealth, often lives more simply than the person who's broke. They drive a reasonable car. They live in a nice but not extravagant house. They don't feel the need to impress anyone because they're not insecure about their position. They built something real, and real wealth whispers while fake wealth shouts. Then there's time freedom, which is even more valuable than money. The disciplined person learned how to work efficiently. They learned how to focus. They learned how to say no to things that don't matter so they can say yes to things that do. They built systems. They developed skills. They became so good at what they do that they can accomplish in 4 hours what takes other people all day. Or they built a business that runs without them having to be there every minute. Or they position themselves so well in their career that they have leverage, they have flexibility, they have the ability to set their own schedule. All of that comes from years of disciplined work, years of getting better, years of building something that has real value. The undisciplined person never gets there. They're always busy but never productive. They're always working but never building anything. They're trapped in a cycle where they trade hours for dollars, and when the hours stop, the dollars stop. They have no leverage, they have no options, they're stuck. And every year they get older, they get more tired, they get more resentful, but nothing changes because they never built the foundation that would allow something to change. Emotional freedom is harder to see, but just as important. The disciplined person doesn't live in chaos. They don't wake up every morning in crisis mode. They don't have the constant anxiety that comes from knowing you're not handling your responsibilities. They don't have that sick feeling in their stomach from avoiding problems. They don't lie awake at night worrying about all the things they should have done but didn't. They handle things. They deal with problems when they're small instead of waiting until they become disasters. They keep their word, they pay their bills, they take care of their health, they maintain their relationships. And because they do these things consistently, their life has a quality of peace that the undisciplined person never experiences. This emotional freedom, this peace, it's worth more than money. It's worth more than almost anything. It means you can be present with the people you love instead of being distracted by all the problems you're avoiding. It means you can enjoy what you have instead of being consumed by worry about what you don't have. It means you can sleep at night. It means you can look at yourself in the mirror without shame. That's the gift discipline gives you over time. Here's something else that happens. Discipline in one area creates discipline in other areas. It's like a positive infection that spreads through your whole life. The person who develops discipline in their health starts noticing they have more discipline in their work. The person who develops financial discipline finds it easier to be disciplined in their relationships. The person who's disciplined about learning and growing finds that discipline showing up everywhere else. It's all connected. You're building a character trait, a way of operating in the world, and that trait doesn't stay confined to just one area of your life. It expands. It takes over. It becomes who you are. And as it becomes who you are, as discipline shifts from something you do to something you are, life gets easier. Not because the challenges go away, but because you're stronger. You're more capable. You have more tools. You have more resources. You have a track record of solving problems and overcoming obstacles. So when new problems come up, and they will, you're not afraid. You're not overwhelmed. You're someone who handles things. You're someone who figures it out. You're someone who does what needs to be done. The freedom that discipline creates isn't just about external circumstances. It's not just about having money or time or options, though those things matter. The deepest freedom is internal. It's the freedom from being controlled by your weaknesses. It's the freedom from being a slave to your appetites, your moods, your fears, your excuses. It's the freedom that comes from knowing you're in charge of yourself, that you can direct your own life, that you're not just drifting or reacting or hoping things work out. You're actively creating the life you want, one disciplined choice at a time. So here's where this leaves us. Right now, today, this moment, you have a choice. You can continue doing what you've been doing, which will give you the results you've been getting. Or you can start practicing discipline. Real discipline. Daily discipline. The kind of discipline that doesn't depend on motivation or perfect circumstances or feeling ready. The kind of discipline that says, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it whether I feel like it or not. Start with something small. One discipline. Make your bed every morning. Read 10 pages every day. Save $10 from every paycheck. Walk for 15 minutes. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it consistently. What matters is that you prove to yourself that your word means something. What matters is that you start building the foundation. Because the life you want, the freedom you want, the success you want, the peace you want, it's all waiting for you. It's on the other side of the disciplines you're currently avoiding. And every day you wait is a day you're not building. Every day you make excuses is a day that compounds in the wrong direction. Every day you choose comfort over discipline is a day you're choosing regret over results. The house that discipline builds is strong. It's beautiful. It's yours. and it's the only place where real freedom can live. So start building. Start today. Start right now, because the rest of your life is waiting, and it's going to be exactly what you build it to be. The truth is simple, even if living it isn't always easy. Discipline builds everything worth having. It builds wealth, health, relationships, peace of mind, and most importantly, it builds you into someone capable of handling whatever life brings. The person you'll be 5 years from now is being created by the choices you make today, the disciplines you practice today, the promises you keep to yourself today. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for motivation to strike. Just start. Choose one discipline and practice it. Tomorrow, practice it again. Keep practicing it until it becomes part of who you are. Then add another and another. Build your life one disciplined choice at a time. Years from now, you'll look back at today as either the day everything changed or just another day you let slip away. Make it count. Your future self is watching, and they're counting on you to do what needs to be done.